brand collaborations right now, $100 billion a year. By 2028, that's set to grow to $180 billion. That's almost 100% growth in the next 5 years.
You're listening to the Affiliate Marketing Podcast brought to you by AffyverseMedia.com, the chapter and verse of everything you need to know about running a successful affiliate program for your business. Now, here's your award-winning affiliate and performance marketing host, an industry veteran, your affiliate marketing guide, and the founder of Affyverse, Leanne Johnston.
What if your next big marketing win isn't another ad campaign or affiliate deal, but a strategic alliance with another brand? Today, we're diving into the world of brand partnerships, a $100 billion market that's about to double in size. Jamie White, the co-founder of Brand Partnerships, joins me to reveal why companies are shifting away from traditional marketing channels and betting big on brand collaborations. He's sharing the inside track on how to spot the right partner, avoid costly mistakes, and build relationships that drive real growth. You'll discover why some marketers spend 20 hours a week searching for partners, what makes collaborations succeed or fail, and how to structure these deals to benefit both sides, from small businesses to huge international global brands. Jamie's breaking down the playbook for building partnerships that last beyond the first campaign. Stop wasting time on LinkedIn cold call outreach. This episode is your blueprint for turning brand partnerships from a nice to have into a revenue driving machine. Welcome to the Affiliate Marketing Podcast with me, your host, Leanne Johnston. And today I'm super thrilled to invite Jamie White, the co-founder of Brand Partnerships, onto the podcast with me today. And we're going to be talking a lot about brand swaps, partnership swaps, dealing with partners, and how to actually get campaigns off the ground. So Jamie, it's a pleasure to get you onto the podcast with me today. I am very excited about this episode.
Same. It's great. We've been connected for a long time now, seeing one another at a lot of affiliate events over the course of a few years. Lovely to have caught up recently. And it's an absolute pleasure. And thank you again for the invite to join the podcast.
So let's start off with just telling my audience a little bit about who you are, how you got into affiliate marketing, and how you landed up being the co-founder of Brand Partnerships.
Sure. So I've been in customer-facing, client-facing roles for most of my career. Pre-2014, I was in the recruitment sector. And then in early 2015, so actually almost 10 years ago, if you believe it, I joined Student Beans to head up their business development and client acquisition function. So this is really my introduction into the affiliate world. Student Beans, for those who don't know, are a tech and marketing company targeting 18 to 24-year-old student consumers. And this was my role was largely to be involved in bringing on retailers and brands into that business. So fashion, food and drink, health and beauty, travel, amongst others. And so we work very directly with affiliate partners, both in terms of the large affiliate agencies and networks across the world, but also tech partners. During my sort of 7 years with the business, I helped grow the company from about 25 when I started to over 300 when I left. I tell people a bit tongue-in-cheek that it was incidentally the company's biggest growth period whilst I was there. But seriously, it was great to learn a new technology which I hadn't seen before, working with leading brands. And I joined the business to learn of technology, but incidentally then got involved with the affiliate sector.
So what led you to Brand Partnerships? I know it's a hot topic right now. A lot of brands are wanting to do business with other brands that are complementary to theirs and bring that into the performance space as well. But what led you to make the move and spin out and get into Brand Partnerships? Yeah,
so after leaving Student Beans, the founder of Brand Partnerships, she and I had worked together and we'd identified there was a significant challenge that brands were facing in that sort of collaborative space. I want to throw some stats at you that perhaps people don't know is actually like 71% of marketers say they're spending more than 20 hours a week on partner outreach. 67% say that they're always looking for new partners, and 62% say they're finding new partners is part of their biggest challenge. So I think what we saw was there an opportunity to build something which perhaps wasn't in the market. Brands were telling us that they knew they needed to do some form of brand collaboration, but didn't know where to start, and B, were trying to do it, but were spending far too much time, and actually it was leading to very low or almost negligible results. We thought that perhaps these areas are very familiar to brands. No one was really talking about it. And certainly, where do they start? Do you go to LinkedIn? Do you try to do your own outreach? Are you talking to the right people? What if they don't respond? And ultimately, this led us to focusing on brand partnership collaboration, where we're solving the problem for brands and helping them to collaborate with other brands and knowing where to start and how to do this at scale. And that, in a nutshell, is why we exist.
Yeah. So you saw there was a need in the market. There's clearly some growth factors there with the numbers that you've given us. And it seems to be something that nobody really knows. It's happening in the background, but it's happening like one-to-one. There's no kind of like marketplace or space where people come together and collaborate. And the partnership economy is expanding further and further outside of traditional affiliate. There are massive opportunities for brands. I recently just had a conversation with Shopify and hooked them up with TikTok for Business. Like all of that kind of stuff can happen, but it happens on the fly. Let's talk a little bit about brands that want to do partnerships, and let's get into the nuts and bolts and the advice and the tactical stuff that they need to be doing in order to make that happen, because it does seem to be happening one-on-one, behind the scenes. This person meets that person, they crack an idea, they happen to be in the right departments, and then this campaign happens. But what I want you to do is break down, like start to end to end for our audience. What do you need to be doing if you're thinking that you might be ready to do a brand swap or a brand partnership with another company? Like, where do you begin? What is step one?
Sure, understood. That's a really good question. I think you've really hit the nail on the head there, Leanne, that actually this is something that does go on. And I think people are perhaps unaware of the size and scale of what is happening behind the scenes. This is a $100 billion global market. It touches so many different businesses across the world from every conceivable sector imaginable. And so I've got some suggestions about perhaps where they should start, but this is certainly not an exhaustive list, but a really great question. Firstly, we'd look to perhaps get brands to think about, define the objectives and what does success look like? What are those metrics? What does good look like? Assess brand compatibility, so audience overlap. Questions like, what are the sort of brand values? What's the target audience fit? Have they done any sort of like market research? Identify internal champions, so who are the key stakeholders within the business? Establish a resource plan and budget.
So those things are quite important because you're reading them off like a checklist. But the first point that you mentioned was identifying what does good look like, because good could look different to different companies. And that means getting really tactical about what are you measuring and what's the result that you want to receive from this partnership. Is it brand awareness? Is it the fact that you want new signups into your affiliate program? Is it that you want more customer sales? Is it that you want uplift from existing customers? Like, the list could be quite endless. And I think starting out on a partnership, you need to be crystal clear about what it is that you want before you get going. Yeah.
100%. Let me give you an example of that. So one of the brands that we work with, so I think there's always that, firstly, I think there's always that supposition that brands are looking for multiple partnerships or multiple relationships to be built. But actually, that's not always the case. And an example of that is one brand we work with, they only want to have probably one new partnership a quarter. So it's not built on quantity, it's very much built on quality. So for them, that's the thing that they can manage. It's scalable. It's something that they can deal with internally in terms of resource. So yeah, definitely knowing what good looks like is a key part of that initial planning stage.
And then you mentioned in some of the other points, so just go back to that list. So it's almost like understanding your why and getting crystal clear on what your objectives are. But then moving down, you were talking about connecting with the right people. So who would be the right people to connect to? Because are there job titles like brand partnerships manager? What are you looking for? Because you mentioned going onto LinkedIn to actually find the right person. If you're dealing with a huge organization with 1,000 employees, like, where do you go? Because it's pretty easy on the affiliate side. You're going to publisher manager, affiliate manager, head of marketing. You'd start in that place. Is it a similar kind of position, or are brand partnerships being managed by totally different segments of a business's? Is it even in marketing at this stage, or is it part of procurement? Or that's the kind of thing that I think people need to know.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. As part of the brand partnerships platform is that everyone has their job title in there. All those that you referenced are very key to that. So they would be brand marketeers or marketing strategy. Often, obviously, it's often the idea, or it's being driven at C-suite level, sort of down through operational teams, which is obviously very common. But one of the things that we find is that those that really champion it are starting in a marketing capacity, and then perhaps it moves out into others. You mentioned procurement. Obviously, that's a huge driver for if there's a cross-promotional piece of work done across a product particularly. These are areas that involve different sort of project leaders, but certainly there's executive support as well as those that actually are managing this on the ground. But via the brand partnerships platform, each of those has their own driver and actually what they're looking to try and accomplish, but they will bring in other stakeholders once the conversation gets up and running.
So this isn't like a one and done conversation. Like, to me, to get a really good partnership off the ground, you've got to have your strat plan in place in terms of why this partnership is going to work for you. You need to also be able to add value to the partner. So understanding that how do your audiences overlap? And that could mean actually sharing some data or having a tool in place that can allow you to assess whether there's a profit margin to be had out of this partnership. Then it's about dealing with people. So it's really similar to an affiliate program, because you're probably going to need to deal with 4 or 5 stakeholders in the opposing business in order to just get the partnership off the ground. Then you're going to have to include finance or procurement or multiple budget owners in order to get the partnership through the door. So it does sound like it's becoming quite a complex thing. It's not I'm going to send an email and get a partnership off the ground. It seems to be a little bit more intense than that.
I think it is. And I think it's something which is clearly got value. The size of the market size of the industry across the world is a behemoth. So I think this is something which is not showing any signs of slowing down. And I think strategically, brands are looking to forge partnerships because going after that customer is increasingly more difficult. And I think we see that across perhaps some of the affiliate sector. So I think it's an area that is always being focused on by the business. And I think it's not just we're just doing it's a campaign. It's actually should be an integral part, perhaps, of your wider customer acquisition strategy.
We've taken our audience to the point where they know what they need to get out of the partnership. They've done their due diligence to find the right partners and looked at the data segments to say, yes, this is a partnership that's going to work for both of us. They've managed to contact all of the right people to get around a table and say, hey, is a partnership something that we want to pursue? What about identifying the right partners? Because other than the data segment, is there anything else that you should be looking at? Is it that companies need to be like for like match? So you can't be an SME and go and ask Coca-Cola for a partnership, or does that actually happen? Does it depend on what you're selling? So what other factors do you need to look at to find the right partners to reach out to? And then what do you say to them in order to get them to engage? Because that's often the biggest problem that affiliate managers have, is the response rate is low. So what do you do to make a partnership sound attractive?
Yeah, understood. So there's a number of things that I think we would always suggest that you have consideration for before you enter into that. And they're things like shared values, cultural differences, or alignment between two different parties. Definitely an awareness of their creative capability and flexibility. I think businesses operate very differently from one another, and that's absolutely fine. But I think it's being aware of that ahead of time so you know what you're getting yourself into with somebody. You don't want to be a few months into a project or potential project, and then you realize that there's some things that don't match up. Brand reputation. I think some brands have they're in the headlines sometimes for not great reasons. And I think it's making sure that you're not going to come unstuck a bit later on down the line because you've not done some of that sort of background work. You want to look at the strategic vision and long-term potential of a partnership. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier, surrounding working with somebody, not just on a campaign basis, but actually this is something that maybe you want to work with moving forwards. So I think there's a number of things to consider. Your question surrounding how do you make that work? Again, one of the things that we're really pleased to promote is connecting people quickly and easily and making that sort of brand collaboration piece very simple. And again, go back to think of us a bit like, we're like a business, so we're able to help people to find those connections. We don't go on the dates. We want to make sure that we're connecting people properly, but it's a setup to what could be a great thing moving forwards and allow two parties who perhaps didn't know about one another to explore the full realm of what a collaboration could look like. Outside of that, we do hear that places like LinkedIn, which can be really good for connections, is just a minefield. And the possibility is that you might not get through to the right people, or they might not get through to having a conversation, but actually our job is to try and help allow that to flourish.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you, short and brass tacks, is this isn't just for Christmas. It's like a partnership for life, because if you're aligning your company and your business and your brand and your values to another company's, you need to make sure that they're as ethical as you are, that they have the same values, that they want to treat their customers the same, that if your customers are being sent there, they're going to be treated well. So it's a much bigger picture than just, can I get them to do business with me? It's all about what happens after that conversation. And what are some of the common challenges that people face when they enter into brand partnerships that maybe our audience needs to think about and consider and maybe keep at the peripherals when they're moving down this route?
Yeah, there's actually a few, again, which we highlight and we talk to brands around when they're preparing to enter into the sort of collaborative space. These also come with a number of kind of like red flags. So again, I want to highlight what could be an issue, and so people are aware of this ahead of time. So perhaps like misaligned objectives and expectations. And again, I go back to that example I gave earlier surrounding that one brand that was looking for one partnership opportunity per quarter. If they were talking to someone who was perhaps expecting like 5 a quarter, I think that's then going to be a miss expectation on both parts. So again, would perhaps be very clear around what does that good look like? What is that expectation? And if it's a little bit vague, then again, just be very conscious of that. I think lack of communication or coordination, if there's poor or infrequent communication from the start, that would perhaps be a worry for most businesses, now not limited to the collaboration space. And the last one would be an inflexible or bureaucratic processes. And I think this is quite a big one. If the potential partner is struggling to make decisions or has a lengthy approval process, and I think we all know businesses that have a very slick process for perhaps procurement or legal or getting things up and running, but there's those that perhaps could take several months. And again, there's maybe an imbalance there when it comes to that collaboration.
So you need to be talking about these 3 things in the initial conversations. Like, you need to be understanding the cadence that you can actually get a partnership off the ground. And if you can move faster than the person that you're partnering with, you might need to consider how to use that out in the commercials or whatever the case may be. Because I see a lot of people trying to do partnerships and they do one little campaign and then they're done. And then and if that little campaign doesn't work, then they don't move it further. And then you feel like you've wasted all of this time trying to do a brand partnership with somebody that looked great on the outside, but it didn't work like when it came down to the brass tacks. So how do people avoid those types of situations happening? Is it just really having that open dialogue and building that human relationship with your marketing counterpart at the other side? Or are there some things like terms and conditions and things that you should pre-discuss and agree on before you even enter into the relationship? I guess I'm trying to get you to tell our audience exactly like a foolproof method of, okay, do these 5 steps and you should be A-okay to a point. Or do you just need to go and hire an expert? Because we like to try things as marketers and we like to be innovative, but is this really something that you need to hire an expert in, or you're going to get burnt? Or can you start to foster these relationships slowly and bring them into your kind of partnership economy and start testing them like piecemeal? What's your advice to people?
Sure. So I think personally, I see it as quite a simple sort of first step. Do we want to have a brand collaboration with another brand in the same or a different sector to ours? And that's very binary. It's yes, we do, or look, this isn't for us. And I think when you've got yes and you've got, okay, these are the people that I want to go and have a conversation with, is that once that is in place and there's perhaps something for us to do, in the background is to have a real sort of project approach to setting this up so it is done effectively and comprehensively. And so whether that's a strong sort of like kickoff launch meeting, whether it's establishing like regular calendar and cadence communication, understanding all of the different facets. And it could be that there's no legal element to talk about. But I think I would still want to make sure that's in a checklist somewhere, or you want to make sure you're talking about data or what information is being shared or can and can't be shared between the two parties. So I think looking from a project perspective is making sure that that's all in place at the point where you start to explore something, because you don't want to then have to think about it maybe retrospectively. But I don't think that necessarily you need to hire an expert to come into the business necessarily. I think, but if this is being driven from a strategic perspective, and arguably that would be from C-suite rather than maybe from operational teams necessarily, I think that then you need to fall back on the rest of the business to say, look, I need some support. I would like to be supported in this way so that we can get this working, because this is not one and done. This is the start of a relationship with one of potentially many different brand partners that we could perhaps work with, but doing it properly absolutely is our best advice.
So are you seeing companies actually segment their budgets? Because everything used to be under like acquisition, right? And acquisition could be search, paid, affiliate, social, whatever it is. Are you seeing brand partnerships actually come in under this acquisition budget, or are they just like using the affiliate budget to test partnerships and see what happens? If it's $100 billion business, I'm starting to think that maybe there's different budget lines and like allocations being made at the top level.
There absolutely is. I wouldn't say it's certainly not limited to affiliate. I think it's across that, and paid, and maybe a central marketing budget. For some of the bigger businesses, it's a defined line when it comes to collaboration, something that is just within this demographic. We do see that's something which varies across business to business. I think the other thing is that some businesses, they don't have a large marketing spend, and look for something on a CPA or CPL basis. So they're happy to pay on performance or look to pay on performance. So again, that is an option that's available to some businesses. Or that obviously doesn't work necessarily for everybody. And some look for a reciprocal relationship where I'll send an offer to your email database and you'll do the same to mine. Yeah. Some don't want that and they just want the sort of one way. So I think it's very bespoke brand by brand. But in answer to the question around budgets, I think it varies like hugely. But some Some have it all tied up and others don't have a distinct line for brand collaborations.
So once the partnership is set up and the budgets are agreed and the date has been assessed and the guidelines for what they're going to be doing, whether it's two-way, one-way, or multiple campaigns, whatever it is, like what are some of the ways or best practices that marketers running these partnerships or affiliate managers running these partnerships and brand campaigns can actually get value out of the collaboration? So is there like a best practice guideline of here's 3 things that you should definitely do once you're live and running to maintain or retain these relationships and get the most value out of them? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think obviously the immediate one is what's the sales or revenue impact for the business? Has that been something which is measurable, and is it something that we've seen an increase in? What does that customer acquisition look like? The revenue may or may not be something which you can look at, but can you look at the number of customers or the level of engagement? Perhaps there's a piece around brand awareness or customer retention that you would need to maybe give consideration to or certainly have a measurement of. But also look at the sort of long-term, what's being written in the press, what's being talked about, get some feedback from customers that allows you to see that this is something that is clearly working for us. And again, I wouldn't treat it as one and done. So you try the first one and you make a call on whether it's the right thing for the business to continue. This is something which is often for lots of businesses, a learning period, a learning experience. So they're trying to get the most out of the first, but also, okay, that didn't work. We need to then move that into when we have the next brand collaboration is something we would then look to make some changes on. But I think there's a lot of things which I think business can give consideration to, but I think it's having awareness of that before the campaign has started so that you can ask those questions, not only as we start, but also during the course of and then post that activity, whatever that looks like, so that you can make a call on, okay, we've made some good headway here, but actually we want to make some changes perhaps for the next collaboration.
What's one of the most successful case studies of a brand partnership or brand swap that you've seen recently? And talk us through why you think it was so successful. What did these 2 brands do that really set them apart from any of the other brand swaps that you're doing?
Yeah, also I maybe could mention a specific business in terms of what they've done, but we've introduced a number of people together who have historically found it very hard to find the right people. And again, the number of businesses that say to us, I've tried to get in front of this particular travel partner or this particular health and beauty business, and I've never got anywhere, and it's been very frustrating. And we've been able to really help them to do that. And again, going back to the dating analogy, we'll help forge that relationship, but some of that commerciality we don't get involved in. But where we have done is we've been able to help them to start that brand to brand collaboration journey. So that's the first thing. And those that have given us or provided sort of a hit list of ideal partners, we've been able to, because through our account management function, is to outreach to those businesses and say, look, there's somebody who's really keen to work with you. And then we've put people in touch, which has been instrumental in then taking the first steps in building a brand to brand strategy where historically they've found it really tough. So those are things that we're really proud of. And again, they're not things that have a tangible pound or dollar figure to them, but actually it's been something that's been measurable in the success of the brand to brand collaboration space that they found historically very tough.
So let's talk a little bit about what brand partnerships does, because you're talking about the platform and you're also talking about the account management service. So give us a little overview about if anybody listening wants to come in and actually test doing a brand partnership. Maybe they've got somebody in mind, maybe they don't yet. How does your business actually help them to get going? What are all the touch points that you can support them in?
Yeah, so brands can join, and again, it's a bit like filling out a dating platform. So you put in what you're looking for, what type of collaboration you're looking for, and whether that's, whether it's like a cross promotion or an event sponsorship or content collaboration, perhaps some sort of like cause marketing. And again, that's a big thing that's come out of the last couple of years. It's a really key trend for lots of businesses that it's not about the pound notes. It's around actually doing something which makes a difference to a demographic of people. So they can join, they can fill in the information on what they're looking for, and they can go through and filter by different type of brand and what they're looking, or they're also looking for, to be able to then be matched directly with, and they can reach out to and start speaking to perhaps brand managers or marketing execs who work for businesses that are also looking for that kind of collaboration. So it's a very simple way to be able to then join a platform which automatically then provides you with that touch point.
Because we speak to multiple verticals, from e-commerce to iGaming to hotel, travel, leisure, beauty. It doesn't really matter. Everybody can join this. It's not just for e-commerce brands wanting to work with e-commerce brands.
Absolutely. So one of the great things is, and again, it's a little bit like any other sort of membership site, is that you can have multiple stakeholders within the business that will be looking for. So you could have somebody from marketing, somebody from e-commerce, somebody from customer engagement, who each would have their own different profile within the business. They've all got their own different objectives or goals. And so one different part of the business might look for a particular type of relationship. And again, we see this across different countries. So we're a global business, do a lot in the US and Canada, obviously UK, Europe. We've got even as far as Australia on to the east of us. People can join from different parts of the world, different parts of the business, and each have their own goals. So again, it's very specific to that individual as opposed to the business as a whole. Whilst they might have an overarching strategic view, each person has their own goals. And again, we want to be able to cater for those individuals so they can form those collaborative relationships which matter to their part in the business.
So the platform itself is like the marketplace where you can advertise yourself, like the peacocking. Basically, I've got this and I want that. But the account management is actually following through and making those connections. And then what else do you do on the account management side?
Yeah, so we do a lot of the heavy lifting. So our account management function is there to make sure that if you said, look, we're looking to try and find a match with this particular type of business, then we can then bring those to the stakeholder and arrange meetings on behalf of them. That's something which we're really proud of. We can also, in some instances, go off platform and, if say again, do some sort of like lead generation to bring partners into the platform that could be a good fit. So a lot of this is to do just really alleviate the frustration of that 20 to 30 hours a week for marketers that are spending doing brand collaboration, and actually make their lives easier. Our role is to make them look really good in their own roles and to cut down on the time and frustration of not being able to find the right people. And so that's a significant part of what we do. And again, work in all English and speaking countries, as well as obviously European territories. So again, if it's some of the brands that are joining the platform are looking to break into new markets, whether it's Ireland or France or Germany, and so we can perhaps help with some of that activity as well.
Okay. So if you're trying to break into a new market, Jamie is the guy to connect to on LinkedIn. Let's talk about the future of brand partnerships as we wrap up this podcast this week. Where do you think it's headed, and why should performance managers be looking to augment their programs to scale and grow this way? It seems like it's quite a lengthy, detailed space that you need to get into, and you probably need to build up your skill set. It's not something that you can transfer immediately from managing a traditional affiliate into managing a partnership, but the account management skills are probably transferable. So why do you think affiliate managers that have budget and are looking to scale and grow should consider bringing partners in 2025 as part of their strategy?
I love that question. That's really great. I think we'd all like a crystal ball. I think we'd all like to see what's coming. But the big number which we reference to people is that brand collaborations right now, as I mentioned earlier, $100 billion a year. By 2028, that's set to grow to $180 billion. That's almost 100% growth in the next 5 years, which is enormous in anyone's vocabulary. And I think this is why performance managers should really take note. And I think people always assume that when they see a collaboration in the news, and again, I reference people like Nike did something with Tiffany, and there was the Nike, that coloring on a pair of Nike shoes, Tiffany on the Nike shoes. And that people think it's for other people. And I think that's a really big mistake. I think there's a lot of opportunity, not just at enterprise level, but through the sort of SMB market and mid-size, that you can start to explore collaborations with. And there are lots of partners that we work with, or lots of brands on the platform that aren't the big Nikes or L'Oreal or the big companies in the world, but they are looking to start to do something which actually is just getting them noticed. And I think that collaboration piece within the brand-to-brand sphere should form part of your overall customer strategy. And I think it's something that if you're not giving consideration to, your competitor will be. We think it's a really exciting sector to be involved in.
And I think for SMEs as well, where budgets are going to be tight next year, we're already seeing a tightening of the belts in Q3, Q4. It's all being advertised in the news. Advertising spend is being halted while we see what happens in the US with elections, and here in the UK with the new budget, which is going to be coming out shortly. I think it's very important to explore opportunities that don't necessarily need to take money up front. If you're a marketer and you're busy managing your company's budget, like, these things can be done, granted, as we've heard today, with a little bit more effort and a little bit more time being invested into it. It's not like a paid media channel. It doesn't just go live and then you get the results. But I think if you invest the time and the effort to build these relationships with key partners, and it doesn't need to be 5 other companies in a quarter, it can be one, just one that you connect with and actually build a collaborative space where you can test and learn together. That's money well spent, I think, and it's time well spent, because what I've got out of this conversation, I'm really glad you are here, is yes, this might be time consuming, and yes, it might be difficult to get off the ground, but the actual rewards and the value that you get out of it is perhaps a lot higher than trying to chase new affiliates into your program who may or may not be able to convert based on their traffic. So it might be worthwhile just divvying up your time in quarter one and actually seeing if you can get a low-level brand partnership in place, do a little bit of learning and testing with it, get onto the brand partnerships platform, see what collaborative opportunities exist there, and give it a go. What have you got to lose, really?
I couldn't put it better myself.
All right, Jamie, thank you so much for being on the podcast this week. It has been really interesting learning a little bit about what's happening in the partnership space. Those numbers are really crazy. So hopefully you guys are listening and tuning in and picking this up as a to-do thing for next year as you're planning your strategies. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for your time.
Lovely. It's been great to chat today. Really pleased to have shared some information, and look forward to seeing you again physically when we go to the next affiliate event.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of your affiliate program skyrocketing. Intrigued? Then you need to know about Affiverse magazine. This isn't just another industry publication. It's your personal affiliate marketing powerhouse. Imagine having a mentor, a strategist, a productivity coach, all rolled into one sleek square package that sits right on your desk, helping you to grow your affiliate program every single quarter. Affiverse magazine is the quarterly toolkit you've been dreaming of. It's packed with cutting-edge insights, expert interviews, and a full promotional calendar brimming with ideas to keep you ahead of the curve. But here's where it gets really exciting. We've included guided planning sheets and goal-setting tools that turn your big ideas into actionable steps. It's like having an accountability partner that never sleeps. Whether you're mapping out your next big campaign or planning your affiliate conference schedule, the Affiverse magazine keeps you on track and fired up. And the best part? This game-changing resource is available to you to download digitally or order in print. But wait, there's more. Join our exclusive club and you'll get the premium print edition delivered to your door every single quarter. Plus, you'll unlock a treasure trove of perks, including live strategy sessions with industry titans and VIP access to our in-person events. Don't let another quarter slip by without this secret weapon in your arsenal. Head to affiversemedia.com, click on the magazine button at the top of the homepage, and order your print copy of the Affiverse magazine today. Your desk, your affiliates, and your business will thank you.